Today, I want to share something personal, 3 stories from my life. These stories aren't extraordinary, nor are they filled with flashy moments. But they hold truths that have shaped who I am and how I see the world. Sometimes, it's the simplest lessons that leave the deepest impact. These aren't stories about success, they're stories about curiosity, resilience, and the fleeting nature of life. They're about the moments that define us, even if we don't see it at the time. So let's begin with the first story. I was 17 years old when I made a decision that puzzled everyone around me. I dropped out of college. For many, dropping out feels like failure. But for me, it was a leap of faith, one that didn't make sense in the moment but transformed my life in ways I couldn't have imagined. My story started before I was born. My biological mother, a young graduate student, made the difficult decision to put me up for adoption. Her only wish? That I be raised by college graduates. But life had its quirks. The lawyer and his wife who were supposed to adopt me changed their minds at the last minute. They wanted a girl. That's how my parents, who weren't college graduates, got the call. Despite their modest education, they promised my birth mother that I would go to college one day. Fast forward to my college years. I naively chose an expensive school, one that drained my parents' hard-earned savings. But 6 months in, I felt lost. I didn't know what I wanted to do or how college could help me figure it out. I couldn't justify the financial burden I was placing on my parents, so I dropped out. That decision was terrifying, but it also freed me. After dropping out, I began dropping in, attending classes that fascinated me. One of those was a calligraphy class. I was captivated by the beauty of typography, the art of serifs, the balance of spaces between letters. At the time, it seemed impractical. But 10 years later, as we designed the Macintosh, everything I'd learned came rushing back. The Mac became the first computer with beautiful fonts, a feature that wouldn't have existed without that calligraphy class. Looking back, I see how those dots connect. In the moment, they didn't. Life is like that, you can't connect the dots looking forward. But when you trust your gut, curiosity, or even karma, the dots will connect in ways you never expected. My second story is about failure, a word most of us fear. But failure isn't the end, it's often a new beginning in disguise. I was 21 when I co-founded Apple in my parents' garage. Those were humble beginnings. My partner and I poured every ounce of energy into building something new, and within 10 years, Apple grew into a $2 billion company with thousands of employees. We had just launched the Macintosh, a product I was incredibly proud of. Then, at the height of my career, I got fired. Imagine being ousted from the very company you started. It felt like the rug had been pulled out from under me. The story is almost surreal. As Apple grew, we brought in someone I thought was a perfect fit to help run the company. For a while, it worked. But as time went on, our visions began to clash. The board sided with him, and suddenly, I found myself on the outside looking in. I was devastated. For months, I wrestled with feelings of shame and loss. I even thought about leaving Silicon Valley entirely. But as the fog of despair lifted, I realized something important. I still loved what I did. That love became my guiding light. In the years that followed, I started Next, a company that would later play a pivotal role in Apple's resurgence. I also co-founded Pixar, which revolutionized animation with Toy Story. On a personal level, I found love and started a family. None of these milestones would have happened if I hadn't been fired from Apple. Being fired felt like awful medicine, but it was exactly what I needed. It taught me resilience and reminded me of the joy that comes from starting fresh. Sometimes, the very thing that feels like a setback is actually a setup for something greater. Failure isn't the opposite of success, it's a part of the journey. If you embrace it, failure can lead to your most creative and fulfilling moments. My final story is about something we all face, death. It's a topic many avoid, but for me, it has been a profound teacher. When I was 17, I read a quote that said, "Live each day as if it were your last." It struck a chord, and since then, I've asked myself every morning, if today were my last, would I want to do what I'm about to do? When the answer is no for too many days, I know it's time for a change. Death isn't just an end, it's a clarifier. It strips away the noise of ego, fear, and societal expectations, leaving behind what truly matters. None of us are here forever, and that realization is both sobering and freeing. Knowing that my time is limited has helped me make bold decisions and avoid the trap of living someone else's life. In 2004, I was diagnosed with cancer. For a brief moment, the doctors thought I wouldn't survive. Facing my mortality head-on was terrifying, but it also deepened my appreciation for life. It reminded me that each moment is precious, and that living authentically is the only way to truly honor the time we have. Death clears up the old to make way for the new. Right now, you are the new. But one day, you will be the old, and that's okay. Accepting this truth allows us to live fully, to follow our passions, and to create without fear. So, those are my 3 stories: curiosity, failure, and life's fragility. Together, they've taught me to trust the journey, embrace setbacks, and live authentically. If there's one message I want to leave you with, it's this: stay hungry, stay foolish, and never stop seeking the dots that will one day connect.